Good evening. I'm Pedro Hazel Jr.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
Welcome to another edition of Sportslines Plus. Tonight, we'll be discussing the NCAA tournament, Final Four for the men and the women's finals. We'll also be discussing the Knicks as they go into the final stretch of their regular season into the playoffs. We've got a good show for you. So, if you like what you see, press the subscribe button. It's South Carolina and Iowa in the women's tournament, and North Carolina State and Purdue and Alabama and UConn in the Final Four men's NCAA tournament. The winner of as of this show, the Purdue beat North Carolina State 63-50, and will play the winner of the Alabama-UConn game, which is already in progress. Actually, at halftime, UConn is leading Alabama 44-40. Now, that will be held, the final game, the NCAA men's finals will be held on Monday. Meanwhile, the women's NCAA tournament final between South Carolina will be held tomorrow afternoon. South Carolina and Indiana at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Yep. South Carolina and Indiana. Last night saw two great games of the women. Iowa squeaked by UConn 71-69, while undefeated South Carolina blew by North Carolina State 78-59. In the Iowa-UConn game, Caitlin Clark scored 21 points and 3 3-pointers. Hannah Stuelke led Iowa with 23 points, while Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Edwards led UConn scorers with 17 points each. By the way, the Iowa-South Carolina game is a rematch of last year's Final Fours, where Iowa snapped Dawn Staley's Gamecocks unbeaten streak.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So it's a rematch. Steve, assess this all for us.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the women's game, the Iowa-Connecticut game. It was almost as good as what everybody talked about. For probably the last couple of weeks, almost every friend of ours had been waiting to see this game, because we were looking at Caitlin Clark, who may be the best women's shooter on the planet, against Paige Beckers, who has had 2 torn ACLs and is still one of the best players in college basketball. She will be coming back for her senior year, which probably means next year she might be drafted number 1, as we expect Caitlin Clark to be. It's an interesting game. Caitlin Clark, the first half of the game, was really defended well by Connecticut.
Oh, yes. She struggled big time.
Yes, she did.
Huge.
They have a guard, Connecticut, Mika Mule. She really stuck to her for almost the entire first half. I believe she was 0 for 5 before she hit her first shot.
Yeah.
They really guard her well. She wound up with 20, but a lot of it was in the second half.
21, yeah.
Paige Beckers had a good game, a solid game, passed well, shot well. But what I was a little surprised was I didn't see the explosive scoring from either of them.
No.
Both
it was a very
good.
Tight defense.
Yes, both of them were good, but I think the defenses, particularly Connecticut, really clamped down.
Yeah.
And only a freak call at the end of the game decided the game for Iowa.
Yeah.
And it really was a freak play. If you saw, Leah Edwards was the one they called for a foul for a moving screen right at the end of the game, which was a controversial call.
Yes.
And had that call not been made, maybe the game goes to overtime. Maybe Connecticut would have pulled the upset, beating Iowa. But it was a tight game all the way. I have to give Caitlin Clark her credit. She came alive when they needed her to. But I think Stuelke, their center, was outstanding.
Oh, yeah, Stuelke. She was fantastic.
And if she plays this well tomorrow against South Carolina, that will be a great game. South Carolina has so much talent.
Oh, man.
They have a center. If you haven't seen this woman, Cardozo, 6'8". She's a Brazilian center. She is probably the best center in college basketball. They have a team that is relentless on defense. They have guards that Miss Watkins is one, Johnson is another. They come at you in waves. Dawn Staley makes her girls play aggressive, tough, hard-nosed defense. trust me, Caitlin Clark will not have many open shots in this game.
Mm.
But if that center for Iowa plays well and the women around her who played pretty well yesterday shooting-wise, then this game could be a very close game and an interesting game. But I think South Carolina is going to win their second title in consecutive years.
Mm. You think so?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think South Carolina is pretty much might win this game. Iowa's going to have a tough time. As great as Caitlin Clark is, Iowa's going to have a very difficult time.
Because I think they're going to double team her. They're going to put a lot of different people on her, pressure the ball, try to get it out of her hands, and make the other players on their team beat South Carolina. But South Carolina has so much depth around them as a team.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, the way they shoot, the way they come after you, their coach does not let up on her team at all. So I think they will win their second title. And interestingly, she comes from the Gino Auriemma school.
That's right, Dawn Staley.
Yes, because she went to Gino Auriemma's school, and he's the master of teaching defense. And her girls have learned how to do it, and she's got a great team to work with. So I like their chances, but you never know. And if I was meant to win it all, this might be living proof that they're really a great team.
Going back to Monday's game with Iowa and LSU, that was a gutsy game.
Yes.
That was a gutsy game. Angel Reese, she did it. She gave all she got, 17 points on an injured ankle.
Angel Reese, I believe, is going to be a great pro in the WNBA as much as I think Caitlin Clark will be.
Yeah.
I can see them facing off against each other quite a bit because she plays as good a defense on her as anybody. But Caitlin Clark might be, if I can say it, the Steph Curry of college basketball. She might be as good as that in the WNBA. This woman has range that is absolutely insane. 30, 40 feet out, don't leave her open. She's going to hit most of those shots.
Yeah.
And Angel Reese played her very tough defensively. Yes, I know she got in her face last year and she tried to embarrass her on the court. I get that. But that's part of what she tried to get in her head and intimidate her. Yeah. Because she's such a great talent.
Yes, she is.
And there's been talk that she might actually play in the Big Three with the men. And she may get $5,000, we've been hearing. Because they are talking about having her come into this league, maybe play for a couple of years, and get more exposure. I think if she opts to do that, that would be a great thing for women's basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Because that will open up the game not only for her, but any other woman who believes they're talented enough to play with the men. And then she can go back to the WNBA and take charge in that league as well. So the Indiana Fever, which is the closest team to where she's from, they're probably going to draft her number one. I wish the Liberty could draft her. But I think next year, the Liberty may get Paige Beckers. And that would make them liable to win it all the year after.
Oh, yeah. The Liberty had a great season last year.
The Liberty was this close to winning it all last year. The Aces had so much talent. That's how they beat us. But if you bring in Paige Beckers to what this Liberty team has now, with Sabrina Ionescu, with the other players they have, the way they play as a group, and you have somebody like her who can distribute the ball and shoot, I'd like the Liberty's chances 2025.
Oh, yeah. What do you think now about the men? What do you think about the men?
I have interesting thoughts about Connecticut. I'll start with them. Connecticut, a lot of people pretty much assume is going to win another national title. I have been saying to my colleague here that while they're a really good team, I think more of it has to do with their coach, Dan Hurley. He's a great coach. And I look at their team and I see they have guys like Caravan and they have Klingon and they have Newton. Newton might be their best player, Tristan Newton, the guard. But there's something about that team that I don't think spells championship to me. I'm watching Alabama tonight, and I think this is the first time they've been tested in a long time.
Alabama they were on top of UConn all the way. They were not giving it. They were not intimidated. They were not intimidated. Yeah.
Right. And the way they play them, they take a lot of threes. They're very aggressive. They rebound well. They're not afraid of Connecticut. I'm glad to see the Connecticut play a tough game before if they were to get to the finals. I think they need to be tested to see if they're this good. And Purdue, if they play them, might be able to beat them because they have a phenomenal center named Zach Edey.
Yes,
who is probably going to be a good NBA player. And we've heard rumors the Phoenix Suns are interested in this guy at pick 16. Even the Knicks might be interested in this guy. Because I, as a Knicks fan, and he is too, we've been saying that while we like what we've been hearing about possible players coming to the Knicks, Donovan Mitchell being one, maybe the guy from Mikal Bridges from the Nets, that would be two. But what if the Knicks could draft somebody like this and develop a good to great center? They haven't had one of those in years. We're talking about the last great Knicks center was Patrick Ewing. And look how many years ago that is. That's over 40 years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah.
And Willis Reed.
25 years? Oh, my God. That's 50 years ago.
And we had a good center in Marcus Camby. That's how I see the Knicks centers.
Yeah.
They're adequate to good. Hartenstein, Robinson, good defenders, hard workers, but they don't give you anything on offense.
Right. Before we get to the Knicks, let's continue to talk about the Alabama and UConn.
Sure.
And also, too, Purdue and NC State.
Yeah. NC State, I was impressed with one of their players, their forward, whose name is not coming to me right now, but this is a guy who's a 6'7", I believe, 230 or 40-pound forward who can play center. He's actually 6'9". And I almost wish they had played Connecticut so I could have really seen what he can do. He has a beautiful touch for a jump shot, 15, 20 feet out. This guy looks like an NBA player. He might even be able to play a little center because he's so physically built. So I was hoping they would play Connecticut, but they didn't have enough stars around this guy. But he himself is an NBA prospect for sure.
Yeah. 12:42 left in the second half. Alabama and UConn tied at 56.
Wow. Alabama is looking definitely to pull the upset. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not per se a Connecticut fan. I had picked Houston to win the whole thing. You saw what happened with them. And the reason they're gone, they lost one of their significant players when they played Duke, and they're out of the tournament. But Connecticut doesn't impress me, as I've said to you before, as being the team that will win it all. I'm really glad this is a tight game, and I would not at all mind if Alabama does pull the upset. And it could happen because they are playing them the way nobody else has played them this year.
Yeah.
Aggressive, tough, taking their threes, not afraid to battle with them under the boards. I think that's how you have to play Connecticut.
You
cannot be intimidated when you play them.
That's right. Now we'll go to the Knicks. Now, actually, my choice, I have Purdue going into the Final Four. Hold on. Final Four. Hold on. Well, we have Final Four. We have Final Four coming in, and so we have Final Four. I have Purdue in my Final Four. So Purdue in the Final Four, and I was thinking probably Houston and North Carolina. Well, at least one of my teams is there.
Well, here's the deal. This is how people win football pools, football or basketball pools. Sometimes you get lucky, you pick the right team. I can't argue with you at all in Houston. I would have gone with them. North Carolina is a perennial, really good team in the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't their time. Purdue, I knew they were good, but I didn't think they were all that now.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize was Zach Edey was this good a player. My colleague here is very mild-mannered and humble about this, but I'll tell you what. If Purdue wins it all, this man could have made a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
A ton of money.
Yeah, indeed.
And you probably wish you had now after this.
Oh, well, happens. Now to the Knicks. The NBA regular season is winding down, and the Knicks are 45-32 as they lost to the Bulls in Chicago last night, despite OG Anunoby's return. They are tied for the fourth spot with the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference, but they're actually in fifth place as the Magic own the tiebreaker.
That's true.
Julius Randle has season-ending shoulder surgery earlier in the week. Steve, how do you think that will affect the Knicks postseason?
Well, I'll tell you what. The Knicks have actually gotten by 31 games without Randle.
Yeah.
Which tells you they've already been tested in this role. The problem is with the Knicks, everybody on this team has been injured for the most part this year.
Yeah.
It's amazing that Brunson, who is their best player, has gotten literally up off the floor a couple of times.
Yeah.
I thought he was done for the season when I saw him in Cleveland go up for a shot and nearly messed up his knee.
Right.
They have had so many injuries. They've had Anunoby, they've had Robinson, Randle, Brunson, even Josh Hart was injured a little bit last night's game. They have been an amazing team. And I don't know where they're going to finish. I'm hoping they finish fourth. They have 5 games left. They're going to be very tough games. Mm-hmm. They have 2 games with the Bulls left. The problem is the Bulls are fighting for one of the playoff spots.
Oh, yeah.
They are now in the play-in round. Mm-hmm. So they are going to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks will have to win at least one of these 3 games, if not 2.
Yeah.
And they also, I was told, are going to play Milwaukee as soon as tomorrow.
Hey.
And Milwaukee is a very tough team, and it looks like they've figured out a lot of what they're doing now. Mm-hmm. So they're going to play them, and I believe they're also playing Boston somewhere in this. So they are going to be pressed to really do well. I hope the Knicks come out of this 3-2, which means if they do that, they may slide into that 4th spot.
48-34, yeah.
Right. But credit to the Knicks, because if these players didn't get hurt, the Knicks, in my opinion, would have been the second best team in the conference.
Yeah.
No question about it. Because defensively, especially in January when Anunoby arrived, this team was cooking.
They were cooking. They really were.
Every level that matters.
Yeah.
Brunson has had a spectacular year. DiVincenzo's been amazing. Hart's been awesome. Hartenstein's been really solid, really good. Even when we get Robinson in the lineup, he's played well. So this is a team that's very close to getting to the top.
Yeah.
They may not get there this year, unfortunately, because of injuries.
The injuries.
But the offseason is very promising for the Knicks now.
Aha.
I can see, if they're lucky, Donovan Mitchell coming here.
Aha.
To me, if we get Donovan Mitchell, we will have the best backcourt in the Eastern Conference. And you can argue between Tatum and Brown and us who's better in the backcourt.
Yeah.
Then rumor has it that Bridges may come from the Nets. Mm-hmm. And if he comes, that's the Villanova quartet.
Yeah.
That's Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Bridges.
Uh-huh.
And then I think they need to find a center.
Yes.
Maybe in the draft they can find one. Maybe they'll have to trade for one. Now, there's been talk about Julius Randle because his contract is up next year. Uh-huh. And now that he's injured, the question becomes, do you re-sign him? Or do you try to trade him next season? I think the Knicks, my opinion, I think they're going to try to trade him next year.
They can get some value.
Right. And I think it's not so much how he plays, it's the way the Knicks play as a team. He doesn't quite mesh with what they do. He's a great isolation player. Maybe the only one I would say was better in that realm was Carmelo Anthony. But he averages 25 points a game. He's settled down his temper. He's more calm now playing with Brunson. He gets what they're doing. But I think the Knicks need a player who can really mesh with Brunson.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if Randle is that guy.
Uh-huh. Because they're going to build a team around Brunson.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
They should.
And they should, because when the Knicks pass the ball and spread out the court and they have the great shooters they have, especially if they get Mitchell in here, I think that's what the Knicks might say. You know what? We like Randle. He helped us get to a certain level, but some players can't take you to the top. He might be the player you have to say, you're good, but we want to try to win a championship here. And I don't think he's quite at that level to do it.
Uh-huh.
What do you think?
I think so too. I've heard a lot of people say he's not, he's a good player, but he doesn't really mesh with the players on the team.
Yeah, he's like, to me, he's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Uh-huh.
The guys around him are all good passers, good shooters. They don't hog up the ball. Randall has a tendency, even when he's playing well, he'll hog up the ball. He'll force the issue. He's very big and strong, and that's part of the reason he's able to do it.
Right.
But does it work with what the Knicks want to do? I don't know.
Right.
And my other question is, Tom Thibodeau, how much does he like Randall?
Mm-hmm.
I think he likes him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll be involved with a decision whether they keep him going forward.
Yeah.
Because Thibodeau, I think, likes him a lot. But I don't know if he's the right mix for what they're trying to do.
Uh-huh.
So in the long run, I believe they will probably trade him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll get some more draft picks. Remember, fans, they have 6 draft picks.
Six
left.
Woo.
And they had as many as 12. So the Knicks are almost at the top.
Yeah.
They might be there next year if they get a couple of players.
Right. UConn's now leading. Oh, they're pulling ahead now. UConn is leading Alabama 64-56, 10 minutes left in the second half.
Okay.
Second half.
Well, maybe Connecticut has now gotten the message tonight that Alabama is here to play and they're here to win.
Uh-huh.
And this is the first time I think Connecticut all year has been threatened from winning a game.
Uh-huh.
And that might be a good thing for them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to play Purdue,
yeah.
and they're going to have to face Zach Edey, and he is a star.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I don't know if UConn really has. They have good players. They have Caravan. They have Newton. They have another guy who's a very good player whose name is escaping me. But they now need to find out who they are as a team because Zach Edey is a star.
Mm-hmm.
He last game with Purdue, he got 40 points.
Wow.
You don't see that from many college players.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is 7'4", 300 pounds, and he is going to be an NBA star.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if he probably will never be at the level of a Victor Wembanyama, who I believe is the next face of the NBA.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think he's going to be more than a serviceable center at the next level.
Yeah.
And if he plays for Phoenix, and you know what they have,
yeah.
They have Durant, and they have Beal, and they have Booker, and you put him in with those 3 guys, and you're talking about a guy who will probably average 25 a game.
Mm.
And he'll be right near the top of the center list in the NBA.
Well, great analysis of the NBA, NCAAs.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, before we say goodbye, let's give a shout out to Jay Kaplan, Steve Rabinowitz, and Anthony Strait for the job they do and have done on the Sportslines, on the Sportslines show.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jay and Steve, Rabbi, and Anthony. For Steve Ferguson, I'm Pedro Hazel Jr. saying good night and see you in 2 weekends as we cover the NFL draft.
Oh, will that be fun?
Yes, it will be. If you like what we see, you like what you see, hit the subscriber button and enjoy the NCAA matches tonight and tomorrow.
All right. Take care, guys. Go Jets.